People say one small act of kindness can change a person's entire destiny, but no one expected that a quiet, exhausted single dad driving his intoxicated boss home after a company party would hear words the next morning that would turn his life upside down. What she confessed didn't just shake his world, it revealed a truth she had hidden for years. Before we begin, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Samuel Malik had lived most of his life quietly, as though afraid to disturb the world around him. At 33, he was a single father raising his 6-year-old daughter, Ira, who had the brightest eyes and the kind of smile that made strangers soften. Life wasn't easy, but Sam made it look simple. Morning school drop-offs, long shifts, evening homework, late-night laundry, and a silent hope for a better tomorrow. He worked as a driver and office helper in a medium-sized company for a boss almost everyone feared, Madame Zara Mahmood, a 29-year-old CEO known for her confidence, strict discipline, and the icy aura that made employees straighten up whenever she walked past. To Sam, she wasn't scary, just distant. He had seen glimpses of humanity in her, the way her voice softened when she talked on the phone with her younger brother, or how she once left a box of pastries anonymously on the desk of an intern she had scolded earlier. But she kept walls around herself, thick ones. That night, the company celebrated their successful quarter at a high-end hotel. The staff were relaxed, music was loud, and laughter filled the air. Sam wasn't technically part of the party, but he waited outside in the parking lot with the company car, as instructed, ready to drop anyone home. Hours passed. Employees left in groups, some laughing, some singing, some leaning heavily on friends. Close to midnight, Sam saw a blur of movement near the entrance. Madame Zara stumbled out, heels wobbling, her sharp persona softened into something entirely different. She tried to wave at a taxi that wasn't even there. Sam rushed over. "Madam, I'm here. Let me drop you home safely." She blinked at him, eyes unfocused but surprisingly gentle. Sam the responsible one," she mumbled, nearly losing balance. He caught her before she fell. She smelled of expensive perfume and the sharp tang of wine. "Come, madam, the car is right here," he said softly. She raised a finger as if giving him a command that mattered deeply. You're a good man, Sam. Honest men are rare." He felt heat rise to his face. By the time he guided her into the car and buckled her seat belt, she had already drifted into a half-sleep. The drive through the quiet city was peaceful. Streetlights formed long golden lines on the windshield, and the only sound was the steady hum of the engine. Sam kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror. She looked nothing like the feared CEO, just a tired young woman who carried too much responsibility on her shoulders. When they reached her villa, he helped her inside. She mumbled something he couldn't understand and then, with childlike trust, rested her head against his arm as he led her to the sofa. He placed a blanket over her, set a glass of water nearby, and quietly left. The next morning, he expected awkwardness, maybe even anger or embarrassment. Instead, when Zara arrived at the office, her expression unreadable, she asked him to come to her cabin. His stomach knotted. Had he done something wrong? He stepped inside. She looked at him, not with her usual coldness, but with something vulnerable, something heavy. "Sam," she said softly, "sit. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said years ago but didn't have the courage." And that was the moment Sam's life began to change. Sam sat down slowly, unsure whether to brace himself or calm himself. The tone in Zara's voice didn't sound like anger. If anything, it sounded like someone who had not slept or had cried before arriving. She folded her hands on the table, tapping her thumb anxiously against her palm. Her eyes were slightly red, and her usually immaculate hair was loosely tied, as though she had been too preoccupied to fix it. "I owe you the truth," she began, and Sam stiffened, confused. "A truth that has been following me every day for almost 7 years." Sam blinked. 7 years. Before he could ask anything, she continued. "Do you remember when you first joined the company?" He nodded. 2 months after Ira was born." Zara swallowed visibly. "Exactly. And do you remember why I hired you so quickly, with almost no interview?" That memory flashed in Sam's mind. At the time, he was desperate. His wife had died during childbirth, leaving him alone with a newborn. He was broke, lost, and unable to refuse any job. He didn't question why the CEO hired him so easily. Until now. Zara's voice trembled. "I didn't hire you because you were the most qualified. I hired you because I saw your application, And I recognized your wife's name. Sam's heart dropped. His breath hitched as he stared at her, shock freezing him in place. You knew my wife. Zara nodded slowly, painfully. She wasn't just an employee in my previous company. She was my closest friend. Sam felt everything tilt. He had known his wife, Layla, worked briefly in a corporate firm before quitting due to pregnancy complications, but she never mentioned the CEO or anyone else. Why didn't she tell me? He whispered. Because we had a fight the week she left, Zara confessed, shame twisting her face. I wanted her to stay in the company despite her health issues. I thought she was giving up on her career. I didn't understand what she was struggling with. And she walked out crying. That was the last time I saw her. Her voice broke. A week later, I got the news that she had passed away giving birth. Sam's throat tightened. He felt the same dull ache he felt years ago, losing Layla, raising Ira alone, wondering whether he had done enough. Zara wiped her eyes. I never forgave myself. When I found your job application, I recognized everything, her name, your baby's age. I hired you because I wanted to help, but I also stayed distant because I didn't know how to face the truth. Sam was speechless. For years, he had seen Zara as strict, cold, demanding. But behind that exterior had been a woman carrying guilt, regret, and a hidden connection to his past. Madam, you don't owe me anything, he said gently. You didn't cause what happened. Layla made her own choices. She didn't blame you. Zara shook her head. I blamed myself enough for both of us. Her hands trembled. And yesterday, when you helped me without hesitation, carried me inside, treated me with such dignity, it broke something inside me. I realized I had judged myself for years, but you, her husband, showed me more kindness than I ever showed myself. Sam lowered his gaze. Anyone would have helped. No, she said firmly. Not everyone, but you did. A silence settled between them. Heavy, emotional, healing. Then she took a deep breath. Sam, I want to do something for you. For Ira. Something meaningful. Something your wife would approve of. He shook his head quickly. Please, madam, I don't need anything. But I need to, she insisted. Not out of guilt, out of respect. She stood up and walked around the desk until she stood beside him. Come with me, she said. Sam followed her, unsure and nervous. It wasn't until they reached the empty conference room with tall glass windows that Zara finally revealed her plan. Something Sam never expected. The sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long golden patterns across the conference room floor. Sam felt uneasy, unsure of what Zara intended, but he remained silent, waiting for her to speak. She walked toward the center of the room, turned to face him, and clasped her hands behind her back. Sam, she began, voice steadier now, I know you've never asked for help. You've struggled alone, raised your daughter alone, and carried your responsibilities with dignity. But I also know you haven't lived, you've only survived. Her words pierced something deep inside him. He had never voiced his exhaustion, never admitted how lonely nights felt, how he wished he could give Ira more, how he feared every month whether he would have enough for school fees or medical bills. Zara took a small breath. Last night, even in your tiredness, you helped me. You drove me home safely. You treated me like a human being when most people only treat me like a position. She moved closer. So I'm going to treat you like a human being too. One who deserves a chance. Sam frowned slightly. Madam, I don't understand. Zara smiled faintly, sadness mixed with hope. I want to promote you. Not just a little, significantly. I'm making you my personal operations supervisor. Triple salary, better hours, health benefits, and, she hesitated, a full scholarship for Ira at Greenfield Academy. The best school in the city. Sam felt his chest tighten painfully. His vision blurred. Madam, I can't accept. You can, she said firmly, stepping forward and placing a steady hand on his arm. And you will. Because this isn't charity. This is me giving you the life your wife wanted for you. She talked about you often, Sam. How gentle you were. How hardworking. She loved you deeply. His throat closed. He found himself staring at the floor, trying to blink back tears. But Zara wasn't done. And there's one more thing, she added softly. He looked up, confused. I want to help Ira know her mother, she whispered. I have photos, videos, messages Layla recorded but never sent. Memories you deserve. Memories she would want her daughter to have. The world seemed to stop. Sam couldn't breathe. 7 years of longing, of imagining, of wishing he had something more to hold on to, and now, suddenly, the past he thought he had lost forever was being returned to him. He covered his face with his hands as tears finally slipped out. Zara didn't speak. She simply stood with him, letting the silence heal. After a long moment, she walked to the cabinet and pulled out a neatly sealed box, white, tied with a soft blue ribbon. She placed it gently in Sam's hands. "This is hers," she whispered. "Yours now." Sam held the box as though holding a piece of his heart that had been missing for years. When he finally looked up, his voice cracked. "Thank you, madam, for everything." Zara smiled, a real smile, fragile but warm. "Thank you, Sam, for bringing me home last night, and for bringing me back to who I used to be." The room felt lighter. Two people who had carried separate burdens for years now shared an unspoken understanding. Kindness had brought them together, truth had healed them, and compassion would guide what came next. As Sam left the conference room clutching the box of memories, he felt an unfamiliar feeling rising inside him, hope. And somewhere in the company corridors, his daughter's future had already begun to brighten. Because kindness, once given, always comes back in ways we least expect. If you enjoyed this emotional story, please like the video and subscribe to your support inspires more heart-touching stories every day.